Let me tell you something. You don't need a crown to act like a king. You don't need gold in the bank. You don't need silk on your back. And you don't need a palace to walk with dignity. You can be broke, living in a one-room apartment, and still carry yourself in such a way that the world stops and takes notice. Because here's the truth. People don't see your bank account first. They see your posture. They see your discipline. They see your spirit. And the way you act today, in your lowest season, will decide whether opportunity opens the door tomorrow. So the question is this: are you carrying yourself like a king or like a beggar waiting for permission to matter? People can spot how you carry yourself before you say a single word. They notice your walk, your shoulders, your eyes, your tone. And in that instant, before you've explained your background, before you've handed them a resume, before you've told them your dreams, people decide whether you belong in the room or not. That's posture. That's presence. And it costs you nothing. Now here's the truth. You can be broke and still walk like a king. You can have nothing in the bank, nothing in your pocket, but carry yourself in such a way that people lean in when you speak. That's the difference between letting your circumstances dictate your spirit or letting your spirit dictate your circumstances. See, if you wait until you're wealthy to act like you matter, you'll never get there. Because wealth doesn't give you dignity. Money doesn't hand out confidence. Opportunity doesn't stop you on the street and say, "Excuse me, sir, are you rich enough for me to pay attention?" No. Opportunity comes to the man or woman who already walks with purpose. Think about it. If you slump, mumble, avoid eye contact, people assume you're not ready. They assume you're not serious. But if you stand tall, speak clearly, shake hands firmly, dress the best you can with what you have, something changes. People think this one might be broke, but he's not broken. That difference, that's posture. Now, posture isn't arrogance. A king doesn't have to brag about being a king. He simply walks in, and it shows his calm, his composure, his certainty. Those are signals. And you can send the same signals long before you have the crown, long before you have the castle, long before you have the car or the house. Why does this matter? Because the world responds to you based on how you present yourself. If you act small, you'll get treated small. If you carry yourself as if you have value, people will test you, maybe even challenge you, but eventually they'll respect you. And when respect enters the room, opportunities follow right behind. So don't wait until life crowns you with riches to act like royalty. Start now. Posture today. Confidence today. Because how you carry yourself determines how far you can be carried. Let me tell you, poverty has a way of whispering in your ear, asterisks. You're not enough, you don't matter, why bother trying? Asterisks. And if you listen too long, you start to believe it. You start walking like you're less. You start speaking like you don't count. You start thinking the future belongs to someone else. That's what poverty does. It doesn't just empty your pockets, it tries to empty your confidence. But here's the great news. You don't have to let it. Having nothing in the bank doesn't mean you have to live as if you're worth nothing. Respect is not bought, it's chosen. And the first respect you need is the one you give yourself. Now, self-respect isn't about being perfect, and it isn't about pretending. It's about making a decision. Asterisks. I will carry myself as if my life matters, because it does. Asterisks. Even if nobody else sees it, I'll see it. Even if nobody else values me, I'll value me. That's the foundation. And without it, no crown, no castle, no kingdom will stand. Let's get practical. You might not be able to afford a $1,000 suit, fine. But you can wash and iron the shirts you do have. You might not have the fanciest shoes, fine. But you can shine the ones on your feet. Self-respect shows up in the small details: clean clothes, good posture, a clear voice. These are signals. They tell the world this person values themselves, so maybe I should value them too. When I was broke, I learned this lesson the hard way. One day I looked in the mirror and thought, if I met me today, would I take me seriously? The answer was no. I was sloppy, careless, uncertain. So I changed. Not my income. I didn't have much to change there. I changed how I treated myself. And do you know what happened? people started treating me differently too. It's not magic, it's cause and effect. You start respecting yourself, others begin to follow suit. You start showing up sharp, people notice. You speak with confidence, people listen. You honor your word, people trust you. The law is simple. Self-respect attracts respect. Think about a waiter in a restaurant. Two customers walk in. One is wealthy but arrogant, snaps fingers, looks down on the staff. The other is broke but courteous, smiles, looks people in the eye, speaks kindly. Who do you remember? Who earns your respect? Money doesn't buy character. Respect is given to the one who carries it, not the one who flashes it. History is filled with stories of people who acted royal long before they had a crown. Take Abraham Lincoln. Before he was president, before he had influence, he was just a struggling lawyer, often broke, often mocked. But he carried himself with dignity. He spoke carefully, he listened well, he showed respect even when it wasn't returned. And what happened? People began to see leadership in him long before he had the office. His self-respect laid the groundwork for national respect. Or consider a more ordinary example. I once met a young man who was broke, working odd jobs, living in a tiny apartment, but every time you saw him, he looked sharp. He carried a notebook everywhere, writing down ideas. He spoke like his words mattered. He treated everyone with kindness. Years later, when opportunities came, people said, we always knew he had it. But here's the truth they didn't times know. Asterisk. They just saw the way he carried himself when he had nothing. That's the challenge. Can you stand tall when you're at your lowest? Can you carry yourself with dignity when your pockets are empty? Can you speak with confidence when you're still climbing the ladder? That's when it matters most. The world loves to test you. It asks, will you only respect yourself when things go your way? Or will you respect yourself even in the storm? And if you can answer that test with posture, discipline, and dignity, the world begins to open its doors. Self-respect is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It's the seed that grows into every other form of respect. Without it, you'll bend to every insult, collapse under every setback, and shrink before every challenge. With it, you'll stand firm, even when everything around you shakes. So start there. Stand tall, even when you're broke. Speak clearly, even when you feel nervous. Dress the best you can, not for vanity, but for dignity. Carry yourself as if you matter, because you do. And when you do, the world will slowly but surely start to agree. Let me ask you this. What separates a king from a beggar? Is it just the gold? Is it just the crown? No, it's the mindset. You can take the crown away from a king, and he still thinks like one. You can give a beggar $1 million, and he'll still lose it because he never thought beyond scraps. See, broke circumstances are not your biggest problem. Broke thinking island. Broke thinking says, I can't, I won't. Somebody else is holding me back. When luck changes, then I'll move. That kind of thinking keeps people trapped for life. They're waiting for the lottery ticket, the miracle, the handout. But kings don't wait. Kings plan. Kings prepare. Kings act. Thinking small is dangerous. It tells you to just get by. It whispers, don't dream too big, you'll be disappointed. And so people shrink their lives to fit their fears. But the king's mindset says, I was made for more. I may be broke today, but my vision is rich. My resources are small, but my responsibility is large. My present is limited, but my future is unlimited. That kind of thinking pulls you forward, even when your feet are stuck in the mud. Now, let's get practical. Big picture thinking doesn't mean daydreaming without action. It means setting goals, even if they're small at first. A king without a vision is just another man in fancy clothes. But a broke man with a clear vision is on his way to the throne. Start with money. You say, Jim, I only have $1. Fine. Save a dime. Break the habit of spending every penny. A king doesn't eat all the harvest. He saves seed for the next season. You do the same, even if it hurts. That dime is not just money, it's proof You're thinking bigger than your situation. Next, promises. A broke man often says, well, what's the point? Nobody cares if I show up. Nobody cares if I deliver. That's small thinking. A king says, my word is my bond. Keep your promises, even the small ones. If you say you'll be there at 7, be there at 7. If you say you'll call, call. Integrity doesn't cost a cent, but it makes you rich in trust. Now let's talk habits. The broke thinker says, I can eat what I want, watch what I want, waste time, what difference does it make? But kings know that habits today shape kingdoms tomorrow. Control your appetite, control your time, control your words. That's not about being strict, it's about being ready. Because if you can't rule yourself, how can you rule anything else? Let me give you a picture. 2 men are broke. One says, I'm broke, so I might as well act broke. Nothing matters. He sleeps late, spends recklessly, blames the government, blames the boss, blames his family. The other says, I'm broke, but I'll act like a king. I'll clean my home, sharpen my skills, save what I can, walk with dignity. 10 years later, one is still broke and bitter. The other, maybe not a billionaire, but respected, stable, rising. Same circumstances, different mindset. The truth is, kings act with responsibility long before they gain the throne. David was a shepherd before he was a king. He treated those sheep as if they were royal treasure. When lions came, he didn't say, well, I'm just a shepherd, who cares? No, he fought for those sheep. That responsibility prepared him for the palace. Responsibility is rehearsal for greatness. The trap is waiting for money to feel rich, waiting for opportunity to act confident, waiting for power to act responsible. Don't wait, act now, think now, live now. That's the king's mindset. So the challenge is simple. Don't let your situation shrink your vision. Don't let poverty teach you excuses. Don't let circumstances dictate your dignity. Think bigger. Save when it hurts. Keep promises when it's hard. Control habits when no one is watching. That's the thinking of a king. And here's the reward. Once you start thinking like a king, people start treating you like one. They see the difference, they hear the clarity in your voice, the certainty in your words, the order in your life. And opportunities like loyal subjects come knocking. So even if you're broke today, train your mind for the throne. Because one day, when the door of opportunity opens, you won't just walk in as a broke man hoping for a chance, you'll walk in already carrying the crown in your mind. Let me tell you something that changed my life. Discipline is the bridge between dreams and reality. You can dream all you want, you can hope all you want, but if you don't cross that bridge, your dreams stay on paper. And that bridge, it's built with daily discipline. Now here's the good news. Discipline doesn't cost money. You don't need a bank account to get up on time. You don't need an investor to clean your room. You don't need a fortune to sharpen your words, control your appetite, or finish the work you started. The broke man's great advantage is this: he can't buy much, but he can practice discipline for free. See, wealth will test you. Influence will test you. Responsibility will test you. But if you haven't built the muscles of discipline when you're broke, you won't survive when the pressure comes. Think of discipline as the crown you wear before the throne. If you can't carry the crown in private, you'll collapse under the weight of the kingdom in public. Let's break it down. Discipline starts with speech. Words are powerful. Words can build or break, inspire or insult. A king doesn't speak carelessly. He doesn't let every emotion pour out of his mouth. He measures his words because he knows every word carries weight, and you don't need money to control your tongue. Speak clearly. Speak with respect. Speak less when you're tempted to lash out. That's discipline in speech. Next, discipline in dress. Now, I'm not talking about owning the finest clothes in town, but take what you do have and make it presentable. Press your shirt, polish your shoes, comb your hair. Why? Because if you can't care for yourself with little, Why should life trust you with much? Discipline in dress tells the world this man, this woman takes themselves seriously. And people respond. Then comes discipline in work. The broke man is tempted to say, why give my best? I'm underpaid, undervalued, overlooked. That's broke thinking. Discipline says, I'll give my best because that's who I am, not because of what they pay. Excellence becomes your habit. And here's the truth. People are watching. They notice. And one day opportunity will tap you on the shoulder and say, we've been waiting for someone like you. And don't forget daily habits. Small habits shape great destinies. Going to bed on time, waking up on time, reading instead of wasting hours on nonsense, saving instead of spending every penny, writing down goals instead of drifting. Each habit is a brick. Lay enough bricks and you build a palace. Fail to lay them and you're left with ruins. Let me give you a picture. A farmer goes out to plant. He doesn't plant only when he feels like it. He doesn't say, well, today I'm tired, maybe the seeds can wait. No, the ground doesn't care about his feelings. The harvest responds only to discipline. Every day he plants, waters, weeds, protects. Months later, the harvest comes. That's the law. And your life works the same way. Discipline is planting the seed. Reward is the harvest. Or think of a king guarding his gates. The kingdom has enemies, temptations, distractions, laziness, excuses. If the king leaves the gates unguarded, the enemy strolls right in and destroys the land. But if he sets guards, stands watch, stays alert, the kingdom is safe. Your habits are your guards. Every time you say no to temptation, every time you say yes to responsibility, you strengthen the gates. Now let me get personal. Years ago when I was broke, I had to ask myself, what can I control? I couldn't control the economy. I couldn't control the price of rent. I couldn't control the weather, but I could control me. I could control when I got up, what I read, how I spoke, how I treated others, what I did with $1. That realization changed everything. Because once you take responsibility for what you can control, life begins to hand you more. Remember this principle. Act with discipline as if ruling a kingdom, even if the kingdom is just your one-bedroom apartment. Clean it. Organize it. Rule it. Speak in it with respect. Work in it with excellence. Treat it like the palace it will one day lead to. If you can't manage the small, why should life trust you with the large? Discipline is not punishment, it's preparation. It's not about restriction, it's about readiness. Every time you practice discipline, you're telling life, I'm ready for more. And life, like a wise teacher, eventually says, all right, let's see what you can handle. So here's the challenge. Don't wait for wealth to get disciplined. Don't wait for the throne to act royal. Wear the crown of discipline now. Guard your words, guard your habits, guard your time, guard your work. Because discipline is not just the bridge between dreams and reality. It's the crown that proves you're worthy to cross it. Let me tell you something important. Kings aren't kings just for themselves. They don't wear the crown just to look good in the mirror. Kings carry responsibility for others. They protect, they guide, they lift. And that's a principle you can practice even when you're broke. You might say, Jim, I don't have anything to give. But that's not true. You may not have riches, but you have words. You may not have power, but you have kindness. You may not have connections, but you have reliability. And sometimes those things weigh more than money. See, leadership is not built on wealth. Leadership is built on character. People follow you not because of what you own, but because of who you are. You've met wealthy people who can't lead anyone. People don't trust them, don't like them, don't want to be around them. And you've met broke people who others gladly follow because their word is solid, their presence is uplifting, their heart is dependable. That's influence. Let's get practical. Influence starts with respect, how you treat people. Speak to people as if they matter, because they do. Don't save your respect only for the wealthy or the powerful. Treat the janitor with as much dignity as the CEO. Treat the waiter with the same courtesy you'd give a king. People remember how you made them feel, and your influence grows every time you lift someone up. Next, honor your commitments. If you say yes, mean yes. If you make a promise, keep it. If you can't, don't make it. Reliability is rare, and that's why it's valuable. When people know they can count on you, your influence rises, even if your bank account doesn't. Let me share a story. I knew a man years ago who was broke, barely getting by, but he showed up on time every time. He volunteered to help, and when he said he would do something, he did it. He had no money to offer, but he had consistency, and people started trusting him. They gave him opportunities, not because of his wealth, but because of his reliability. Eventually, those opportunities brought him wealth. His influence came first, the money followed later. Now contrast that with the wealthy man who treats people poorly. You've seen it? He talks down to people, breaks promises, brags about his money. People might do business with him for a while, but they don't trust him. They don't admire him. His influence is shallow, and the moment his money disappears, so does his circle. A broke man with dignity will outlast a rich man with arrogance every time. Influence also shows an encouragement. Everyone you meet is fighting battles you can't see. A kind word, a listening ear, a simple "I believe in you" can change someone's day or even their life, and it costs nothing. Kings strengthen their people with words, and you can too. But influence isn't just about words, it's about example. People watch you. They see how you handle stress, how you respond to setbacks, how you treat others. If you carry yourself with calm, with dignity, with discipline, people will notice. And without asking, you'll start leading. Influence is often caught, not taught. Now, let's get honest. Carrying others when you're broke isn't easy. It's tempting to withdraw, to say, "I'll take care of others once I have more." But leadership starts now. If you can encourage one person, do it. If you can keep one promise, keep it. If you can show respect in one interaction, show it. These small acts build your influence brick by brick. Think of it like this. You may not rule a kingdom yet, but you do have a circle. Maybe it's your family, maybe it's your co-workers, maybe it's just a few friends. Carry them well. Speak life into them. Be the steady one when everything feels shaky. If you can lead a small circle with character, life may trust you with a bigger one. Here's the principle. Kingship is not about gold, it's about guidance. Not about wealth, but about worth. If you want to be treated like a king one day, start acting like one now, not by demanding loyalty, but by giving it. Not by expecting respect, but by showing it. Not by chasing followers, but by serving people so well that they want to follow. Influence is the crown you wear in people's hearts. And the truth is, people don't remember how rich you were. They remember how you made them feel, how you treated them, how you lifted them when they were down. And you can give that gift, whether you're rich or broke. So here's the challenge. Carry others, even in your struggle. Encourage when you're tired. Be reliable when you're broke. Speak with respect when no one expects it. Because if you can influence others when you have nothing, imagine the influence you'll have when life finally crowns you with abundance. And now let me tell you something. Your environment shapes you more than you realize. It whispers to you every day. It tells you who you are, and it tells you what's possible. If your surroundings are chaotic, messy, and full of distractions, your mind starts to mirror that. But if your surroundings are ordered, uplifting, and full of reminders of growth, your mind begins to rise to that standard. Now here's the truth. You don't need a palace to build a royal court. You can start with a one-bedroom apartment, a small rented room, even just a corner of space you call your own. What matters is how you treat it. Discipline shows up in the environment. If the bed is unmade, the clothes are scattered, the desk is buried in clutter, You're not living like a king, you're living like a beggar. And that environment pulls you down. Every time you walk into the mess, it tells you this is who you are. But you can change that. Clean the room. Organize the desk. Put order where there was chaos. Suddenly the environment speaks differently. It says you're in control, you're on the rise. You're preparing for more. Think of your environment as your silent partner. If you design it well, it works for you. If you neglect it, it works against you. And here's the best part. It doesn't take wealth to make a place royal. A candle, a clean table, a few good books, and some discipline that can turn any space into a place of growth. Speaking of books, treat them like advisors. You might not be able to hire consultants, pay for expensive mentors, or sit in the halls of the powerful, but you can bring their wisdom into your home for the price of a paperback. A library is a royal court of counselors. When you read, it's like inviting great minds to sit at your table and advise you. Don't waste that privilege. And don't stop with books. Seek out mentors in real life. A mentor doesn't have to be rich or famous. It could be someone at work who models integrity. It could be an elder in your community who carries wisdom. Surround yourself with people who remind you of who you can become, not people who drag you back to who you used to be. Choose your court carefully. Now let's talk routines. A king doesn't drift through the day. He has rituals, structure, order, and you can do the same. Set a morning routine. Read a few pages of a good book. Write down your goals, exercise your body, review your progress at night. These little rituals become like royal ceremonies. They remind you daily that you're living with intention, not by accident. Here's the principle. Your environment should remind you not of where you are, but of where you're going. If you're broke, don't design your room to remind you of poverty. Design it to remind you of progress. Put up quotes that inspire you. Keep your goals visible. Surround yourself with tools that build you, not toys that distract you. I'll give you an example. I once knew a young man who was broke and living in a tiny apartment. But when you walked in, you felt something different. The room was clean. On the desk were notebooks filled with goals. On the wall, quotes from leaders. A small bookshelf stood in the corner with worn-out volumes of wisdom. He didn't have much, but he treated that space like it was a royal court. And do you know what happened? Eventually, the opportunities came. His environment had trained him to think like a king before the world recognized him as one. So ask yourself, what does your environment say about you? Does it say you're defeated, sloppy, careless? Or does it say you're focused, disciplined, preparing for more? Every time you step into that room, your environment is teaching you something. Make sure it's teaching you to rise. The message is simple. Create a royal court out of chaos. Even if all you have is one small space, rule it well, keep it clean, fill it with wisdom, shape it with routines. Design it to reflect not just where you are, but who you're becoming. Because if you can rule your little space with order and dignity, life will soon trust you with a bigger kingdom. This is something you must never forget. Money is a follower, not a leader. Dignity is the leader. Discipline is the leader. Character is the leader. If you get those right, money shows up. But if you chase money without building dignity first, even if you catch it, it slips right through your fingers. Wealth comes to those who are already prepared to handle it. It's almost like money asks the question, if I showed up in your life today, would you know what to do with me? And if the answer is no, money passes you by. That's why people who win the lottery are often broke again in a few years. They got the money, but they never built the mindset. They had cash, but they didn't have character. You see, if you act poor in spirit, if you act careless, if you treat yourself and others without respect, money won't stay. It doesn't matter how much you receive, poverty of character will empty the bank account faster than poverty of circumstance. But when you act like a king, when you carry yourself with dignity, when you rule your small responsibilities, well, wealth recognizes its rightful partner. Money flows to order. Wealth follows discipline. Prosperity chases stability. Let me give you an example. Two men receive the same paycheck. One says, this is too small, it's not enough. I'll spend it all and complain. That's poor thinking. The other says, it's small, but I'll save a portion. I'll invest in myself. I'll stretch it wisely. That's kingly thinking. Fast forward a few years. One is still broke, the other has built a foundation. Same income, different posture. One acted like a beggar, the other like a king. Wealth followed the king. The principle is simple. Wealth doesn't create kings. Kings create wealth. And you become a king not by chance, but by choice, by acting today with the discipline, dignity, and vision of the person you intend to become tomorrow. So don't chase money, chase character. Don't demand wealth, demand more of yourself. Because if you act like a king now, wealth will know where it belongs by your side. Don't wait for riches to behave royally. Don't wait for the car, the house, the crown. If you wait until the world gives you respect before you carry yourself with respect, you'll wait forever. Respect begins inside. Dignity begins inside. Leadership begins inside. And the moment you choose it, everything around you starts to shift. Every day is a chance to practice. When you wake up, practice self-respect, stand tall, dress sharp, speak clearly. When you go about your work, practice discipline, finish what you start, honor your commitments, control your habits. When you face setbacks, practice vision, see beyond the moment, keep your eyes on the future. These daily choices are not small, they are the rehearsal for royalty. So let me leave you with this challenge. Don't postpone dignity, don't delay discipline, don't excuse yourself from vision. Act like a king today, and soon enough the world will treat you like one. Because the crown doesn't make the king makes the crown. And your throne is built day by day on the choices you make now. Start today.